day to advocate for immediate climate action and for climate justice. So this rally is called Earth to City in reference of how our world is watching our local governments and wanting them to take action. The change does start here at the local government level. I'm Adrienne Huck, I'll be your MC for today, and I'm a high school senior at Metropolitan Business Academy in New Haven, and I work with New Haven Climate Movement. So this rally is to broaden our climate justice movement, and it's hosted by Sunrise Movement, New Haven Climate Movement, and joined by many other great organizations in this area that are doing a lot of awesome grassroots work. So without further ado, let's get into our agenda. So first up, we'll have from DSA Eco-Socialist, Alex Kolokotronis. Please come to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. How many of you are ready for a Green New Deal? Woo! Yeah. Great. That's exactly what I want to hear. Again, as I was introduced, my name is Alexander Kolokotronis. I'm with DSA Eco-Socialism, and we're all about a Green New Deal, but specifically a Green New Deal based on these 7 points. Decarbonizing the economy fully by 2030. Democratizing control over major energy systems and resources. Center the working class in a just transition. Decommodifying our survival. Reinventing our communities to serve people and planet, not profit. Demilitarize, decolonize, and strive for a future of international solidarity and cooperation. And finally, redistribute resources from the worst polluters. And so us at DSA Eco-Socialism here in Central Connecticut ask, why can't we start that here right now? Why wait until 2020 when hopefully Bernie Sanders gets elected president? Why not start now? And where can we get the resources? Right over there. Right here, we have Yale University, second wealthiest university here in the country. Why can't we redistribute some of these resources right here in New Haven to start right now with the Green New Deal? And where can we start? We can start with housing, we can start with energy, and we can start with jobs. We right now are in the midst of an affordable housing crisis here in New Haven. We're seeing rents just a block away, upward of $3,000 for 1,000 square foot apartments. Do we need that? No! What do we need? Affordable housing. And what can get us affordable housing? A Green New Deal. We need affordable housing that provides us with social housing, ownership, communal ownership that does just exactly what we talked about here, decommodify our survival. And so the question that I ask to all of you, and the question I asked you, Mayor Elicker, or Mayor-elect Elicker, will you be a movement mayor, or will you be a mayor that sticks with the ways of old? Will you be a movement mayor that brings us towards a Green New Deal and sets the stage for a Green New Deal nationally, or will we simply go down another path? And again, New Haven has a history here of setting the table and setting a path for what we see elsewhere in the country. Right here in the 1960s, in the 1970s, New Haven was seen as a model city. And while it was not necessarily such a great model at that point for urban renewal and all of the destruction of affordable housing that we saw then, New Haven can today be a green model city that sets the stage for a Green New Deal nationally. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Alex. Can we get a planet over profit? Planet over profit! Can I get a Green New Deal? Green New Deal! Thank you, and thank you for bringing up affordable housing and everything that the wonderful Green New Deal covers, and for bringing up the amazing point that New Haven truly is a leader, and things we do here can affect our state level and also national level. We have a lot of power, more than you think. So next we will have from the Yale Endowment Justice Coalition, Martin Mann.
Hello everyone, my name is Martin Mann. I'm a member of Also for Yale, which is a part of the Yale Endowment Justice Coalition. For the last 6 years, FFY has been campaigning for Yale to divest its endowment from the fossil fuel industry. And for the last year and a half, we have joined with a bunch of other Yale and New Haven groups to demand a broader justice in the endowment. focusing on our two demands of divestment from divestment and cancellation of exploitative and crippling Puerto Rican debt held by Yale's asset managers. As of this year, Yale's endowment is worth over $30 billion. Averaged out, that's around $9 million every day that it makes in profit. By comparison, New Haven's yearly budget is 2% of that $30 billion. How is it possible that this is just and equitable? How is it possible that this is just and equitable? This is a wealth that is founded on the slave trade. This is a wealth that is multiplied by profiting from digging up coal and drilling for oil, from fracking, from Exxon, from burning up this planet. This is a wealth that grows when Puerto Rico cuts pensions, suffers from austerity, neocolonialism, has its public services privatized, thanks, and struggles to recover from hurricanes exacerbated by climate change. This is a wealth that is hoarded from its very neighbors, from those who live right beside it, and from those who work right within it. While Yale makes money from dirty energy, the same seas that rise in Puerto Rico also threatens homes and infrastructure in this city and others up and down the Connecticut coast. And while Yale trumpets its pioneering climate science, it deprives this city of the resources to make a just transition to a sustainable and equitable future. Left to its own devices, Yale will be content to profit off of the status quo until the water is flooding right into the president's office. But I know that Mayor Elicker has drawn attention to the injustice of Yale's wealth in New Haven before, and has called for a much higher yearly contribution to make up for the loss in tax revenue. And our campaign on campus will continue to push for a just endowment and a fossil-free Yale. We have stood up and confronted David Swenson, the Chief Investments Officer, for his unethical practices. We have sat in and been arrested at Yale's investments office 3 times. And we have rallied with 1,500 other students who walked out of class in a climate strike to show the mass support behind our demands. Because it's high time for Yale to live up to the responsibility that it owes to the community around it. It's high time that the exorbitant wealth is reinvested and returned to New Haven for a Green New Deal, for green jobs, and for a just energy transition. The growing climate catastrophe is daunting and looms larger every day. But when people stand together and take action, we have power, and we can demand a better future. Thank you.
No justice,
no peace. Emissions must cease. No justice, no peace. Emissions must cease. No justice, no peace. Emissions must cease.
Okay,
No justice, no peace.
Yeah, and another one.
Hey,
Hey,
fossil fuels have got to go. Hey, oh. 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 Fossil fuels have got to go. Hey, oh.
no more.
Fossil fuels have got to go. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Okay, and now next we'll have another speaker. We're going to have Ian Skogard from New Haven Rising.
Good afternoon. My name is Ian Stockard. I'm a leader at New Haven Rising. New Haven Rising is a grassroots organization that fight for economic, racial, and social justice in the city of New Haven. We also fight for climate justice. Over the last 5 years, we got Yale University to hire 1,000 people from the city of New Haven, 500 from neighborhoods of need. This is huge for the city, for people in the neighborhoods of need, and for the planet. People who live and work locally will have shorter commuting times. They'll take public transportation and even walk and bike to work. This helping to reduce the city's carbon footprint. We in New Haven Rising believe that economic, social, and racial justice is climate and environmental justice. Yes. They are one and the same. You can't have one without the others. They are all part of the same moral equation, common struggle for justice. Racist fears and policies in the past led to white flight to the suburbs and redlining in poor urban neighborhoods. This led to the deterioration of housing stock with its environmentally unsafe environment and making these people living in these houses more vulnerable to extreme weather events. We are here today to insist that the new administration and mayor fight with us for climate justice. However, the city can't do it alone. They are already strapped for resources to pay for basic services. There are other wealthy institutions in the city with as big a carbon footprint. And I'm talking about Yale University and Yale New Haven Hospital. They sit on billions of dollars of untaxed property. If they could pay a share of the tax burden of the city, then New Haven could truly lead in the effort for climate justice and provide basic services for people of need. I ask you, why can't we ask Yale University and the hospital to fight with us in this this challenge that faces all us today, and bring basic dignity and security to all people of New Haven? I'm talking about, again, economic, social, and racial justice is climate justice. You can't have one without the other. Thank you.
Economic issue, because you truly can't look at climate change without tackling those first and making equitable outcomes a priority. So thank you for that, Ian. And next we're going to have an SCSU student speak, Shayla Peterson.
Hi everyone. Just give me 1 second. Alright, so to get started, my name is Shayla Peterson. I'm a junior and leader in climate activism at Southern Connecticut State University. I am here to represent the commitment that Southern has made to addressing the climate emergency and to ask Mayor-elect Elicker to join us in this pressing matter. As many of you already know, the New Haven Board of Elders has already got the ball rolling in terms of climate action with their climate emergency resolution. This resolution, made in September of this year, states that a climate emergency mobilization task force will be formed when the resolution is supported by our city leaders within 120 days of its creation. I wish to take this moment to clarify Elicker's role in this resolution as New Haven's mayor-elect. Elicker must show his commitment to climate action by signing on to the climate emergency resolution within this 120-day time frame. We have already passed the 90-day mark. It is time to commit. Elicker already holds progressive ideals for New Haven, like increasing the efficiency of our public transport. He also recognizes climate change as an issue of both environmental and social justice, and is aware of the consequences that sea level rise will have on our coastal community in New Haven. It is important above all that our leaders not only recognize these consequences, but also recognize the severity and the urgency of climate change. We do not have time to waste. This brings us to our second request, which deserves to be repeated over and over. That the task force act with urgency to reduce emissions, protect New Haven residents from the indiscriminate effects of climate change, create green jobs, and prioritize justice and equity for poor and marginalized communities. Excuse me. Climate change exacerbates issues that are already so prevalent in New Haven, such as poverty, environmental injustice, and racism, as well as food desertification. This is a matter of basic human rights. It is imperative that our political leaders commit to tackling these social justice issues that are so intertwined with the climate emergency. Finally, we request that the Board of Alders specifically commit 0.1% of the city budget to critical climate action. The board has recognized the importance of grassroots organizations in mobilization of climate action, but tangible action higher up in the political hierarchy is absolutely necessary for wide-scale change in our environment and local communities. In addition, if action is not taken immediately, the cost to address climate breakdown will be even higher for the city and its taxpayers. These are not simple suggestions. We, as activists and citizens, demand evidence of a plan that acknowledges the urgency of the climate crisis not only within New Haven, but beyond into Connecticut and the world at large. Youth is already making waves with climate rallies and strikes, but to enact true change, we must request help from our mayor-elect in facing these social and environmental justice issues. My hope is that Justin Elicker will acknowledge and act on our requests by stepping up as a key contributor to climate action in New Haven, helping us to create a cleaner, greener, safer, and more equitable New Haven. Thank you.
What we want to see and what we need to see to prevent climate breakdown, and of course, the many expenses that it's going to cost to our city and state, and how that may lead to tax rises. So next we'll have another speaker from Unidad Latina en Acción, John Lugo.
Thank you. I guess my people they're coming to join me. Okay, so yes, my name is John Lugo from Unidad Latina en Acción. Our group is made up of hundreds of families that had to leave their countries because of the economic policies that originated in this country and or other third world countries. Many are displaced by the ambition of corporations that are making a second colonization to provide raw materials to maintain the living standards that are leading to the destruction of the planet. We're gathered here to demand that the new administration of this city make the environment a top priority. We applaud the resolution passed by the Board of Aldermen of the climate emergency, but resolutions are only words, printed on paper that will end up in the garbage, polluting more. A climate emergency policy calls for investments and real numbers to make the necessary changes for New Haven to lead regionally and nationally in terms of reducing carbon dioxide emissions, to create green jobs. And let me give you an example. Around the city of New Haven, we have a lot of empty land. We have lawns that produce nothing but grass, another ecological problem. At the same time, we have thousands of migrants, peasants, who before moving here to the United States, they used to live in their own farms. They used to grow their own food without chemicals. Why not offer jobs to them? To those who have experience farming the land, so that the food consumed in this city can be produced locally. It's imperative that we declare that we live in a climate emergency. It's necessary that the new administration creates a task force so that soon we can start implementing the changes that we need. We already know that the worry will be always, where is the money is going to come in from? But look to the other side of the green. There is like this empire called Yale University, which is sitting in an endowment of $30 billion. That's where the money should come in from, and we should demand it, that Yale fulfills his social responsibility. But what is true is that we cannot continue to live as if nothing is happening. There is an emergency, and we will be paying attention to this new administration to make climate changes, to make climate change a day one priority. If not, we as a people, we will demand it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Unidad Latina en Acción, for the beautiful, lovely art we have here and for outlining that this truly is an emergency and how New Haven can be a role model. A fun fact, we were actually the 29th city in the US to declare a climate emergency and the second city inside of Connecticut. All right, and next we are going to have a speaker from Spring Glen Church. We will have Jack Davidson.
Good afternoon, friends. I'm here to say that we've been asking the wrong question. And I want you to think of the last time you saw a journalist ask a politician about climate change, and what question do they usually ask? Do you believe in climate change? And I'm here as a minister to tell you that believe is the wrong word. The question should be, do you understand climate science? The question should be, do you understand that communities of color and the marginalized will be the most affected by this climate crisis? Do you understand that climate crisis is also climate genocide? Do you understand that humans have been contributing to climate change and this climate crisis for a very long time, and that the science and the data has been very clear for a long time? And if you don't understand, do you need us to provide you with a tutor? Because this isn't about belief, this is clear, this is happening. And I'm here to also offer apology and confession on behalf of all religious leaders who have been sowing this seed of doubt about climate science. This is a call to my fellow religious leaders to catch up, to go back to school, to study, to learn, to know that this is important and that your religious communities have the power to help change this world for the better, and that our city has the power to change this world for the better. That we need our nation to get on board with things like the Paris Climate Accords, but that we can act right here. We don't need to wait for anybody else to get us on board. We can do this right here in New Haven, right? I'm a preacher, so when I say we can do this right here in New Haven, can I get an amen on that? Amen. I am hopeful and heartened to see the mayor-elect here, standing out in the cold shivering beside us. I hope that it's more than just a PR move, but that there is going to be substantive action following up on it. And I'm here because I don't believe science and religion are at odds with each other inherently, although certainly many religious leaders have put themselves at odds with science. But I think that religion and science are just different expressions of similar things, that understanding science better helps us understand God better, and something that I think that both religion and science teach us. In science, we say that we are made of the same atoms that were present at the Big Bang, that we are made of stardust. And in Christianity, we say, from dust of the earth we came, and to the dust of the earth we return. That we, our bodies, are connected to all of creation. So climate justice is justice for people. Taking care of our earth is taking care of our people. Treating our earth well is loving ourselves and loving our neighbor, as we are commanded to do in my faith. And I hope that in your own lives, whatever faith you profess or whatever personal values you hold, that loving your neighbor as yourself is part of those values. And I'm part of a denomination that in 1987 published a study that coined the term environmental racism. 1987. And we're still having to fight this fight. We're still having to convince people that this is worth fighting for. This is not new information, friends. It's time to act. That's right. What time is it? What time is it? When are we acting? Now! Thank you.
species die!
Climate change is not a lie.
Do not let our species die!
Climate change is not a lie. Do not let our species die. Do not let our species die. Climate change is not a lie.
Do not let our species die!
Climate change is not a lie.
Do not let our species die!
Thank you. And now our next speaker will actually be me.
Hooray me!
And I'm speaking on behalf of New Haven Climate Movement, and I'm going to talk about what has happened, what needs to happen, what are our demands from New Haven Climate Movement, and what are the city's next steps.
Yeah.
So through efforts by New Haven Climate Movement and all of our allies who came out in our strikes and to support us, the Board of Alders passed the climate emergency resolution this summer. And the mayor-elect has made campaign promises about climate action. The climate emergency, so what is the climate emergency resolution? It is a piece of legislature that holds your government accountable for taking climate emergency action to slow climate change, and it outlines many reasons on why it's an emergency and what the city must do. So in our resolution, we called for the city to put together a climate emergency mobilization task force, educate New Haven residents about the climate emergency, and prioritize equitable outcomes, especially for poor and marginalized communities. And most importantly, to eliminate greenhouse gases in the city by the end of 2030. So to fight the climate emergency, what we need is leadership, communication with the public about the climate crisis, to mobilize stakeholders to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. And of course, we need staff to coordinate. We need support of policy change, concrete reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, and push for our state to invest in a Connecticut Green New Deal. So Justin Elicker has signed our mayoral candidate's climate emergency commitment, which declares the support of implementation of the 0.1% for the future proposal to lead our community to confront the climate emergency with new programs that have the resources to significantly reduce our emissions. So this 0.1% for the future commitment means for the city to commit 0.1% of the city's budget towards strong climate action, which is around $500,000. This commitment includes creating the task force that includes leaders from each city department and hiring appropriate staff to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions through projects on topics such as expanded energy efficiency in homes, alternative transportation initiatives, increasing investment in clean energy, and working with community members on a range of greening and sustainability measures.
Yeah.
So we also want to thank the Board of Alders and Mayor-elect for supporting our resolution and the 0.1% to the future commitment. But now comes the critical work to form the task force and to cut our greenhouse gas emissions ASAP.
Lead action.
Action, yes. So here's just an outline of what we need the city to follow through with. 1, the mayor-elect should sign the resolution and put it into place. 2nd, the task force, after being put together, should act with urgency to reduce emissions at emergency speed to protect New Haven residents from current and future impacts of climate change. The task force should create green jobs and prioritize just and equitable outcomes. 3rd, the Board of Alders should commit at least 0.1% of the budget to these critical climate actions.
Yeah.
Let's keep the fire going to call the city to these things as soon as possible, starting with forming the task force so we can begin drawing our greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere as soon as possible. Thank you. And next, we are going to have a speaker from Sunrise, New Haven, and that will be Laura. Laura, please come to the stage.
My name is Laura. I'm a student at Southern Connecticut State University in New Haven. I am here today with the Sunrise Movement, and we thank everyone for coming out in this cold weather and for standing for what you care about. We we want to give a special thanks to our speakers tonight. The more different groups working on related issues stick together, the more we will all win. That's right. I am here today because I realized something. Climate change is not going to get better unless we all do something about it as a collective. Because we all are an important piece in the process of making this planet a little bit better for everyone. Sunrise's purpose is to direct action where it is needed, to get people out in the streets, to advocate for a Green New Deal, which aims not just to save our species from extinction, but to bring equity and justice to our society. That's right! Because no more people should have to die from climate change while we stand watching. If you would like to join Sunrise New Haven as we mobilize for the next round of massive strikes happening in December, our next meeting is this Thursday at 6:30 in the People's Center of New Haven. You can find Tyler if you want to sign up. Tyler, put your hand up. I don't know where you are. I guess he's back there. If you would like to sign up and come to the meeting, Tyler's over there and he can give you more information. Finally, this is what an emergency looks like. This is what democracy looks like. An emergency requires radical democracy. Ask yourself, what more can you do to build the grassroots climate justice movement? There's no time to waste. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and please do follow those action steps to follow up with them, to attend their meetings, be part of Sunrise Movement, get your voice in there, and let's keep organizing for strong climate action. And now our Mayor-elect Elicker would like to have a word.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. My body is so cold, but my heart is so warm to see this kind of activism, particularly from the environmental community. Throughout my adult life, I spent a lot of time working on environmental issues, and all too often, the environmental community has been afraid of politics, has been afraid of being activists, and this, what you're doing today, is what actually pushes movement on these issues. And particularly the young people that are coming out and advocating are going to help give the support, the protection for leaders around the nation who are already working on these issues. They're going to push the people that are on the sidelines, and they're going to force the people that do not believe in climate change out of office so that we can actually have a deeper impact on these issues. Now, I am committed to doing the work to get this done. In my transition team, we were very deliberate about making sure that climate change was one of the top 11 priorities that we have. We've engaged Kiana to work on this issue with us. We were very intentional about making sure it was a young person that was a climate activist that was working with us to make sure that we are able to implement a plan to address the climate emergency that we are currently facing. And I'm looking forward to making sure that cities like New Haven play a leadership role. We have lost leadership at the national level. And the real hoax is on our future. The real hoax is about the lies that are pushed at the national level about how this is not a climate emergency. And what's interesting about today is that this is my first demonstration since the election. And it's the first time I've been the target of the demonstration. And I hope that you join with me in working together to make sure that we collaborate together to address these problems. Because the city does have limited resources, but working as a group, we can ensure that there's more accountability across the city to make sure that we are able to implement these things. So thank you for the work you are doing, and let's keep moving forward. January 1 is my day one, but the work has already begun. Thank you.
Considering the limited resources of the city, what do you say now to Yale University about its investment in various climate change exacerbating activities? And what can Yale do more to help the city mitigate climate change?
I've been pretty clear along the campaign trail that I think Yale needs to do much more to help the city, particularly on financial issues. I will be meeting with President Salovey. We have a meeting on the calendar to start those discussions. These will be long discussions about Yale's ability to help the city more. And the city has limited resources. I think that many of the investments that we will put into addressing climate change, we can also save money through energy efficiency, and there's much that we can implement to make sure the public also has more opportunities to reduce their own climate footprint.
And are there any initiatives that you already have in mind that day one you're going to start working towards on the city's end to mitigate?
I want to wait to answer that question until the transition team gets started to do their work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Justin Elicker, for outlining that you do aim to make climate change a top priority and being intentional with having a young climate activist on your transition team. So thank you so much for that. And I want to extend a thank you also to the Board of Alders for helping us pass a resolution, to all of you for coming to support us, to Sunrise Movement, to all the amazing local organizations that are here. And I think we should just end off with some chants. So, how about we do, we'll do a what do you want chant. So first we'll do strong climate action. When do we want it now? What do we want? Strong climate action!